We are here to talk about a really exciting topic. We're here to talk about TV and digital. Raise of hands, has anyone not spoken about TV in some way, shape, or form in the past 9 to 12 months? Anyone not? Cool, cool, cool. Nobody. Yeah, exactly. So we are here to really just kind of start the conversation with you guys. At the end of the day, what we want you to come away with is a better understanding of the options that are out there, kind of level set some key terms that I know get a little bit confusing. I get confused, I won't speak for you guys. I get confused by them. At the end of the day, as Andy said, we want you guys to come away just a little bit more knowledgeable and a little bit more dangerous. So whether it's knowing which questions to ask, or maybe you're gonna take a few key pieces away that you weren't sure about, that's kind of our main goal. But that being said, I'll let the team here, the dream team, as I refer to them as, introduce themselves, and we'll kind of go from there.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. My name is Jesse Math. I work at ForwardPMX. We've been a performance marketing agency for almost 30 years. So OTT and anything TV is an interesting fit for a performance marketer. But there I lead display, social, programmatic, and super focused on OTT. But that's it. That's all I do.
Frans, thank you again for having us. That headshot is a bit old, so I totally used the headshot machine thing outside, Adam. That was a great ad, so timely and very appropriate. Optik, we are literally a connected TV identity resolution platform, so all we do is try to enable targeting and measurement at the household level for all things OTT and connected TV. We've been around for about 4 years. We work with large connected TV publishers, a large number of the buying platforms, so any programmatic SSP or DSP is likely to have our data effectively onboarded into it, as well as agencies and marketers on things like measurement.
Hi, I'm Joy Ross, Senior Vice President, Global Demand Strategy at EMX Digital. Wow, that was a
Recent
mouthful.
winner of Bose headphones.
Yeah, that is not cool.
And Frans, I think you're in my seat.
Am I? Should we switch? I thought I didn't want to sit next to you. That was like what we talked about in the
They
pep
did
line.
argue about this.
Well, Frans and I have known each other for 20 years. A little about EMX. We are a global entity of marketing technology focusing on the future of advertising models like advanced TV, for the reason why we're here today, and have a cross-channel exchange to execute your media buys.
Great. I'm using my phone for notes. I'm not scrolling Instagram, promise. Maybe a minute later I will be. But we've already thrown out a ton of acronyms, and I think, you know, in this room we have such a mix of clients of ours and friends of ours and prospects of ours, and you know, we have brands and we have marketers and we have agencies. There may be some strangers. Let's kind of level set here for a second. What is ACR? What is OTT? What is CTV? And by that I mean, define it, please, but also what does it mean for you guys and what does it mean for your clients? Because I think each of you come at it obviously from a different way, and it means something a little bit different. So for this purpose, I think, you know, knowing that we have that wide array of people in the room who come at it and are looking at it in different ways, what does it mean to you and your clients?
I'll go. Is that cool? Because I'm in the middle. Yeah, that's a good one. So we define OTT, over the top, as really any professionally produced video content that's streamed through any kind of device. That could be the small screen device. It could still be on the laptop, where digital video started in 2007 when we were in the early stages of freewheel. There was no mobile phone even at that time, right? Mobile came in into 2010 or so. That became like a thing. Connected TV is a subset of OTT, where it's that flat screen thing in the home, where now you're streaming ad-supported content or even SVOD content, right? It could be Amazon Prime, it could be Netflix.
You just gave another acronym. You now
Did I?
define it. SVOD.
SVOD, sorry. Subscription video on demand versus advertising supported
There you go. Thank you.
content, right? So the ad-supported ecosystem is where we focus. Those are your publishers that you're used to on TV, Discovery, NBC, Viacom, kind of run down your channel list, who are all distributing their content on that big screen now streaming, as well as like the Tubies and the Pluto TV acquired by Viacom. There's a bunch of these next-gen connected TV first publishers that have good quality content and a good quality ad experience. That's how we define it.
So inventory.
Yeah, ultimately video inventory.
Video inventory.
Mostly streaming through the big screen, co-viewing in the home.
Great.
That's CTV.
Who's next?
Go for it.
Joy?
Yeah, I think we probably agree on the definitions,
Yes.
So totally agree that OTT is TV or TV-like content that's accessed via an internet connection as opposed to via a broadcast connection. Let's see. So ACR is data that is derived from what is appearing on your TV screen. So whether it's a game or broadcast TV or OTT and digital, there are a couple different ways of determining and basically using that information of what's on the screen for information that we can use for targeting.
It's our automatic content recognition, ACR.
Correct.
There you go.
Yeah.
So to summarize what they actually said is anything on a device, content, fragmented world, you can serve video now. And what we call that is advanced TV, which is all encompassing of all these acronyms and terms.
Cool. There's a test on this later, so I hope you're taking notes. No, I think that definitely helps us level set the playing field, because again, I think a lot of times, as you've said, there's subsets, and trying to get everyone on the same page can sometimes take a minute. So definitely appreciate that. That being said, what do you consider the biggest benefit of using, we'll use advanced TV at this point. What do you see as the biggest benefit in talking to your clients from an agency perspective, from obviously an inventory perspective? What is their biggest advantage in them bringing that topic to you as a topic and to the table?
Sure. So the S&P Market Intelligence Report actually came out with a statistic that about 23 million viewers have cut cords in 2019. And that number is supposed to go to 40 million plus by 2022. So if you think of that number doubling in the next 2 years, we are really at an infraction with how we approach this from a marketer's perspective, and how do we solve for spending our media dollars across digital, video, and in any setting. So we're really taking this as, how do we address the cord cutting going on in the marketplace? And so I think of it as solving problems for marketers across all these different devices.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of different kinds of advertisers out there, obviously, right? So, and some of them are broad reach advertisers. If you're Oreo, right, you want to talk to everyone might eat Oreo, right? And you are concerned about the decline of traditional TV, and you need to make up for and reach those cord cutters. As a performance marketer, we kind of come at it from the opposite side from that. Clients work with us because they're looking to drive outcomes. And many of them have been at a disadvantage for a long time because they didn't have the budget to be in a broadcast environment and to run on TV. And if they did, it was often at a lower level than the category leader that they were competing with. With OTT, there are programmatic approaches to buying OTT that we really rely on to use data to gain access to TV quality content and straight up TV content to advertisers who couldn't do that before. And in using data, we can create truly connected ecosystems, an audience-first approach across all screens. So OTT is one of the mechanisms that we are reaching consumers in, as I said, in an audience-first approach, whether that be connected to a display activation, the same data that you can use in a paid social environment, you can use in an OTT environment. The same data can then be applied to programmatic audio, for example. We've largely accepted that a display banner ad is part of a performance marketing media mix. And certainly if we accept that a 300 by 250 on a random site on dictionary.com, sorry if anyone from dictionary.com is in the room, but if, can be an agent of behavior change, a driver of performance, well then certainly sight, sound, and motion on the largest screen in the house with the sound on, 100% share of screen, et cetera, should also be a driver of performance. So kind of in summary, there's two ends of this. There's the reach, right, play that many advertisers are focused on, but there's also on the impactful creative experiences that are data-driven, programmatic, and biddable to drive outcomes that are now enabled on the TV screen.
Cool. So if it's okay, I'm going to focus on connected TV in particular. Right here's the big screen in the home. You've got multiple people typically watching it. It is an HD experience. So if we're thinking about, okay, there's different kinds of marketers with different kind of goals between reach and targeting and ROS, et cetera. What I think connected TV presents is the best of both worlds. It brings the best of linear, which really is quality. So if you think about like what defines TV, even like in a set-top box world, right? Your Verizon or your Comcast subscription. You turn it on, it works. It's HD, there's 100 and whatever, 200 channels, it's on demand. It might not be the greatest user interface, but generally it's good quality content. It's a great, experience for viewing the content, and hopefully it's a decent ad experience and the ad load isn't too high, right? Ad load in linear can be a little higher than in digital. But now that you are bringing streaming to it, you're bringing the best of digital without all the crap, no offense, right? But you're bringing dynamic ad insertion at the household level through a freewheel, or even Google's now doing this. You can apply data to it with True Optik. You can measure it in sort of new, interesting ways without all the worries on things like brand safety and bots and fraud and some of the challenges that have come out of, the digital side the last 10 years.
And I think we've touched on, did you have some?
Yeah, I wanted to build on that because it's actually crazy to think that, what we're talking about is TV for a digital world. And this next phase of TV is less skippable than traditional TV, which is now transacted on a Live Plus 7-day, is it 7-day, whatever, Live Plus, C3, right? C3 currency. We're talking about non-skippable digital video on TV screens and TV content. So TV for a digital world is less skippable than traditional TV.
And I think, we've touched on a couple things that I think also all play together. We've touched on, the scale. We've touched on the inventory. We've touched on the data targeting that goes into that. You've just touched on linear. I think for a lot of teams and something that I know that, can be an issue for me. And when I'm talking to clients is there's seemingly, and this is a curveball, they haven't heard this question. There's a seeming disconnect between who should be talking about TV data, who should be talking about OTT, who should be talking about CTV, does it start from the inventory? So does it start with, the CTV inventory on a particular TV, or does it start with, we want to target people with ACR data who have viewed a certain particular set of shows or a set of commercials? Do you find that conversation is tricky for you, or do you see there being kind of a delineation? If there are some, you don't have a linear, branch. Some agencies do, some agencies don't. So how do you see that kind of almost idealistically coming together in terms of, we're talking about TV, something that's been around for forever and that are very stuck in their ways, and then we're talking about digital. Where does that conversation start? where's a good place to start that if maybe not all the right people are in the room at the same time?
Sure. No, I've got a point of view, Frans. I do. It really does come down to where you're going to find your audience. Our media is so fragmented today that it's about scale and audience reach. So we tackle the marketing conundrum through strategy of saying, where can we find the right audience at the right time in the right place? Messaging that with the right creative. And finally, what is the return on investment? Through metrics. So those metrics are really the convergence of all these mediums. And we at EMX believe there's a balance between the linear world and the digital world. And there's no one answer. It's going to be convergence of what those data points are and the capacity of how you can process those in real time to then go out and find your audience through a media exchange.
So I got a couple points of view here, mainly on behalf of our clients. So we don't trade media. We're just enabling targeting and measurement in OTT and connected TV. We see big differences kind of holding co by holding co in terms of who's buying the inventory at the end of the day, right? Let's say it's Pluto or Viacom's content in a Roku app, right? And it's Viacom selling the ads. On the sell side, you see most all of the TV networks bundling that inventory together with linear. If I'm going to buy whatever the blacklisted NBC, I'm also going to get a set of impressions in digital and streaming, right? And I'm going to marry those currencies basically together and buy it sort of holistically, and even sort of impressions can kind of flow between linear and digital. On the agency side, that's not as true. It's typically the digital buyers who understand sort of more natively that, hey, moving from digital video to connected TV, it has a lot of the same properties. The only difference really ultimately is there's no cookies and device IDs in a connected TV environment. That's kind of our specialty, is resolving to a household level at that. But digital buyers understand data, and they go well beyond demos and go into auto intenders and frequent travelers and a lot of the data that's available in our market and in partnership with Lotame. So it just varies sort of, I would say on the sell side, converging pretty quickly, and then on the buy side, a little bit less.
Thank you for the plug, by the way. I'm trying to be.
Yeah, there's absolutely a debate that happens within many agencies if this stuff is TV or if this stuff is digital, and I think that debate often mirrors the silos that happens within brands as well. The way that you, there is an impact of that debate though, right? When this stuff is looked at as TV, the goal tends to be reach and frequency. The currency tends to be GRPs. If you're looking at this stuff, this OTT stuff, as digital, then the metrics can be and should be digital metrics, which include conversion rates, site visitation rates, brick and mortar, foot traffic rates, through attribution.
Do you find a problem with that, considering a lot of this is running on video, which is typically a top of the funnel tactic? It's not necessarily considered, you know, people aren't always running from a traditional media sense, and I should say, you know, dating back to just being a media planner, and display is typically your better performing, you know, and video has always kind of been that higher funnel. Do you find that hard to reconcile?
Well, so as a VP of display, I'll say that display tends to be better performing because it's cheap as hell and mostly sucks.
You said it, not me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This stuff, on the other hand, like I was saying, is, you know, a kind of creative experience that is good and that should be impacting consumers. I'll plug True Optik here because I know that you really want to get this, but the key to what we're talking about to driving performance is cross-device graphing, right? Is mapping the TV screen to the devices within that household, desktop and mobile. So we are answering, we're less concerned at ForwardPMX with reach and frequency as goals. We're more concerned in answering the question, did someone see your video ad on a connected TV screen, and then did a desktop or mobile device within that household go to your site and buy through attribution?
I mean, I think that also hits on a lot. I think that hits on another question that comes up a lot, at least for my clients, and I think, you know, sometimes, I'm sure you guys have heard it, that word scale that comes up. Scale, whether it's from an ACR perspective in who has the technology, who is providing the technology, in what aspect, how transparent are they with it, but also from an OTT and a CTV standpoint. I think most recently, word is getting out that scale isn't as dire as everyone thought it was, which I know, Frans, you want to talk about. But I also think, you know, right now as we're coming into, you know, you've mentioned a handful of providers who all provide this scale to us, but in a fragmented sense. So how can our friends out here kind of bring all of that together and reconcile that, okay, scale still may be more limited than they're used to because we're working with a more premium content, a more premium targeting, but there's so many different ways in which it can be accessed.
Can I give a couple examples here on scale? Is that all right?
You're allowed to do whatever you want.
So we'll use my alma mater, Comcast NBC Universal. It's public information, all of this, so I'm not giving away any secrets. Linda's business at NBC is a $10 billion ad business, overall ballpark. It goes a little up in the political and Olympics, but generally on average it's 10 billion, kind of growing a couple points a year. 20% of that 10 billion is now some flavor of digital streaming. So that is the OTT definition that we started with. It's either on a desktop, a mobile, or a tablet, or on a connected TV in the home. Of the 20, so that's 2 billion, right, out of 10, 20% is digital. 80% plus of the digital is connected TV in the home. So that's $1.6 billion of connected TV inventory available at one large, granted, the largest single seller of advertising in the world, I believe, at Comcast with NBC. That's one. So multiply, and they're about 20% of the TV market, so multiply that times 5, right? And then you've got Viacom and Discovery and CBS and all the others, and you've got 8 billion there, and then add in kind of the Roku and the Plutos and the Tubis, and pretty quick you're at our projection for 19 of 13.5 billion in ad spend just in connected TV. I'm not even talking about desktop and sort of tablet environments. So there is scale there, and quality, I would argue, right? And enough to apply, interesting data in hopefully interesting ways.
Yeah, and the Freewheel report, the recent Freewheel report said that 50% of all online video views are happening on connected TV screens now. 70% of Hulu is ad-supported, which is a big misconception that people don't have an appetite for ad-supported platforms. So we are seeing a tremendous amount of scale for sure.
And it comes down to a platform that can actually deliver across all these different mediums. So having a technology that is new, that can adapt to all of the different types of video outlets, OTT, CTV, is really where it comes down to how you're actually going to access that ability.
So I think that also kind of brings us back to my questions, which I prepared. What questions then should they be asking? What questions should a publisher be asking? What questions should a marketer be asking? What should agencies be asking of their vendors? What should you be coming to a Lotame with? What should you be coming to a Optik with? How can we help arm them to make this work for them and their business or their clients?
So I'll start on this end. In particular, is the technology platform that you're using today relevant for all the ways that you can actually reach your audience? Can you actually reach the users through user graphing? And what data partners are they using to actually access that? And then finally, I would say, what are you able to measure on? Ask, what can I get in return from your system to measure the actual return on investment?
So we see pretty dramatic differences in the types of people that are using our data and connected TV. More recently, we've been looking at basically usage for the whole year, and we found that a lot of usage is coming from like local and mid-market advertisers. So TV, as everyone talks about chasing the $70 billion, we were talking about that at DoubleClick in like friggin' the late 90s. We're gonna get those TV budgets, and that largely hasn't happened, right? Digital has sort of been chewed away at by print, got killed, basically. TV has basically kind of been sort of holding steady, right? The ratings are going down. That means supply is going down, but prices are going up. That's why, right, kind of TV is growing very slowly. But what we've seen is that the local sellers, local broadcast, which is 25 billion of the 70 billion is sold locally, regionally, to regional tier 2, tier 3 auto, local and regional dealerships, restaurant chains, and stuff like that. And somewhat surprisingly to me, our work with some of the local broadcasters and some of the programmatic platforms that focus on local and regional are using more data than on the national side, who are, to your point, Jesse, right, like a little more focused on reach versus, hey, I want to use some really in-depth set of auto and tender segments from IHS Polk or using behavioral data from the web to deliver that. So we just see a lot of usage and differences between a national buyer and a local buyer, where the local buyer, is it's sort of easier to sort of price and package things together and hopefully give them a simple conversion, right? We drove people to your dealer and they filled out a lead form. Those kinds of things are easy to prove now in connected TV in kind of the local mid-market, both publishers and buyers.
Yeah. From a buying perspective, the question that I would recommend asking of publishers is, what the hell are you really selling me? I was at Adweek and I saw Gary Vee, and my takeaway is that you should curse a lot from stage. So I'm trying to do that.
I got permission to curse from a panelist. I'm just saying, can I keep going with that?
So I think one of the biggest challenges, and first of all, let's talk about what it means to be a publisher, right? Because there are the publishers, whether it's NBC or ESPN, also, all of the OTT native like Newsy and Outside TV and things like that. But a lot of the monetization in the space is happening through VMPVDs or aggregators, whether they are suppliers or whether they're the platforms.
Knows what a VMVPD is.
Well, I
was going to make them define it. You got me to it.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Virtual version of Comcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Hulu, Roku.
But it's an aggregator in the best sense of the word, in terms of they're aggregating supply, whether it's literally a supply side platform, or whether it's Roku, which brings together a lot of content. And the biggest challenge, I think, from a buy side perspective is the fragmentation of what's called of carriage rights and who sells what, because nobody sells all of anything. And so when you are buying through a Roku or a Hulu, they might, for example, say that they can sell you NBC content, but they actually only have access to maybe 5% of it, right? And those carriage rights are different platform to platform and publisher to publisher. So really the only way of making sure that you can reach your audience anywhere is by working basically with everyone, which is hard, and very few people are doing it, I would say. Again, that's really important because we're talking about using data to find a very specific audience. And if you're only working with 1, 2, or 3 kind of platforms, there's a good chance that you won't scale very much. So what we're talking about is hard, but I think very important.
I think I'm going to answer my own question. I think also another thing, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, is transparency. We're in that point where, to your point, not everyone is doing everything. There is not one person out there that right now can be your holistic solution in certain instances. I think transparency for me and for my clients, and what I am always harping at them is to ask for transparency. Ask the questions. Ask what their data source is. Ask what their inventory source is. Ask, well, who do you have in your ACR set? Who do you have in your that you're collecting this CTV from? I think we're at the point now where with this type of data and with this type of solution and this type of inventory, there is no need for, it's not technically third-party data. There should be complete transparency. And that's kind of always the level set that I start at is ask the questions. They should be able to answer them.
Yes, and if they can't, then that's a problem.
Thank you.
Because in today's market, we're beyond the private marketplaces. We're in the transparent marketplace. And if your technology is not transparent, then I don't see a win in the future for that.
So two comments, if that's cool. If you add up everyone talks about the ad tech tax in digital. We've talked about that for 20 years. Well, maybe 15 out of 20 years. It's really high, right? A DSP might take 10 to 15%, an SSP, another 10 to, you're at basically 30% of the gross spend is gone right there in digital. In traditional TV, if you add up all of the ad tech vendors who basically power, the $70 billion linear TV market, the combined revenue of all of them relative to $70 billion is like 1%. Right? That's everybody. That's the trafficking systems and sort of the analytic systems and reporting systems. It just doesn't add up to as much. So that transparency, when you're trying to buy from, NBC and some of these next generation guys like Xumo and Pluto is really, really important. And that will resonate with people who are in the TV industry and in the TV ecosystem, I think, on like both sides. So just to point that tax stack, the tax in connected TV and linear, that and digital can't be, it's not sustainable kind of long term. Just questions they should be asking on the buy side. The best anecdote I have there is Xumo. Are you guys familiar with Xumo? They're one of these next generation connected TV first programmers or publishers, basically. In terms of transparency, it was so hard for them in their sales pitch to describe what they do. They started actually just bringing TV, like an actual small screen TV. They would buy it in, they would fly to Chicago, buy one, and bring it to the agency, set it up, connect it to the internet in the pitch, and basically describe exactly what you're buying. Here's what you're buying, here's your placements, here's what we are, and just making it super easy to understand because it is still fragmented and relatively new.
I have a TV in my office so that I can do that for clients, but it's tuned into the 24/7 Cats channel all the time.
I called Netflix to support to find out why Netflix wasn't working on my smart TV. It's because I didn't sign into my Wi-Fi. That was about 6 weeks. So we have about a minute left, and I am going to be the one that keeps us on track because I think everyone needs a glass of wine, myself mostly. In 10 seconds, what's the biggest issue that you face right now with getting the buy-in, whether it's from them understanding what you're talking about to, understanding the value in using it or testing it or giving that extra budget to, we've mentioned a couple times, it's not the cheapest solution, but it is, in my opinion, one of the most quality solutions out there right now. What is one of the biggest things that you face currently in terms of getting that buy-in?
Sure. It's about the reluctancy to actually put the money towards a consolidated strategy and understanding that there is technology out there and there is data to find your users. You can come up with a unified strategy to make your marketing dollars work well for you, depending upon your partnerships, of the quality of that partnership and the technology that was built for it. So if your technology is 10 years old, it likely wasn't built for the linear TV and the digital convergence that we're seeing today.
For us, it's the mechanics, effectively, of identity resolution in connected TV. Again, we focus at the household level. I saw Jit, my friend from Tapad. What's up? Nice sweater. Good job up there, by the way. Right. This is a hard thing to explain. And if you're talking to a digital native, and now you're talking about households, but by definition, a connected TV is a co-viewing experience at the household, all of a sudden you kind of get suckered into the weeds on kind of how this stuff all works, and what do you mean there's no cookies and device IDs in a connected TV environment? And we get stuck in that a little bit. We obviously try to keep it simple and try to keep it value-oriented around things like match rates, and here's the best way to get an audience in a good quality publishing source. But we tend to get into the weeds sometimes, especially with more sophisticated buyers.
Was that one person asking that one
question?
question?
Yeah, no, and it's fair. It just it takes time to kind of power through how this world is different, even from digital. Forget how it's different from traditional linear TV.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And mine is just talking to performance marketers and getting them to accept that premium video should be part of a performance marketing mix. Many of them, are working through, TV teams and buying Roku and Hulu, and we have to educate them on that there's more to be done, and there's precise targeting to be done. Many of them are comfortable running on YouTube because of a 4 cents cost per completed view. And then we have to talk to them about, hey, yes, this is a $35 CPM, but if completed views is your goal, $35 CPM at 100% video completion, at 100% completion rate is cheaper than YouTube. So YouTube's already a performance channel. And again, we're not only talking about consumers, we're not talking about clicks, we're talking about people. And us as consumers, we should be able to understand why a compelling sight, sound, and motion ad on a TV screen should be a viable driver of performance, not just brand and awareness.
Hallelujah.
Did you have a final thought?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Oh, you just looked like, okay.
Oh, you said something.
Well, no, guys, I learned a lot, not for nothing. I really did. I hope you guys did. I think, we have our key takeaways up there. I'm going to leave them up there. I won't make you guys say them, but I think all of us kind of agree with ask the questions, find the person, the more questions you ask, the more informed you are, the more informed we are. I think us as partners, we don't know what you don't know. So give us a shout and everyone should just be talking about it. But thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us. Thanks, Tricia.